Hey guys, what's going on? It is Wednesday, and if it is Wednesday, it is time for Story Time with Taffy, episode number 14, the episode that almost didn't happen, brought to you by the stomach flu. If you weren't paying attention or don't have me on Twitter, you don't know this, but on Sunday, I got absolutely wrecked by the worst stomach flu that I've had in quite some time. I would run into the bathroom for several hours straight, and it was like somebody was stomping on the center of a ketchup packet. Both ends just exploding. So that's the least nasty version that I could come up with to describe what was happening to me. I'm happy to be back. I didn't end up having to dump this off on Crooked or any of the other PA members. I will gladly take this run. Normally on Storytime, I like to do a little intro as to what's going on with the channel at that moment in time, but this has been a huge month, a huge week, a lot of things coming together, and there's just way too much to cover. There's just too much. There's too much for me to go through right now and get through everything we need to get through. So Robert and I will just have to do another dual comm, and we will get back to it when we get back to it. But as for today, as for episode number 14 of Storytime, there was a unifying chant coming up from the comments section of the last video, and that was fight, 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 fight. You guys wanted a fight story, so I will sort of kind of give you one. Foamy Pineapple, the password 728, only the very best. These were the three guys plugging the fight comments last week. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to kind of give you the story of why I don't necessarily resort to fighting if I don't have to. I'm a big dude. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a little over 200 pounds. I have been ever since basically high school. In high school, I was a guy who lifted weights. I played football. I ran track. I played basketball. I was not thought of as a tough guy, but I was not somebody that you walked up and pointed to him and said, I'm going to take that guy's lunch money and he's not going to do shit about it. That said, I have a very certain life philosophy when it comes to fighting. It was a philosophy that was instilled in me by my father, who he basically said, son, you never start a fight, but you by God finish one. And I kind of took that to heart. So I never go looking for fights, or at least I normally don't go looking for fights. And the one time that my parents were ever called to school to hear about a fight I was involved in, my dad sat down in front of the disciplinary figure and said, did he start it? And the disciplinary figure said, no, he did not. And my dad said, then I refuse to punish my son for doing exactly what I told him to do. And he walked out and grabbed me and said, come on, son, we're taking a half day off. Let's go to Dairy Queen. And he bought me a chicken strip basket. So yay, blizzards. That said, the one time that I really remember searching out a fight where I got out of a situation that I didn't have to use violence and I was free and clear and nothing harmed but a little ego, and I went back and decided I was going to set some motherfuckers straight. The universe decided it was going to teach me a lesson, but I think it kind of overreacted. So here's how it went down. Simon, which you may or may not notice is becoming kind of a recurring theme in a handful of these stories, and I went to the fair. We went to the county fair with our girlfriends. We went for a nice night out of funnel cake and merry-go-rounds and children puking and redneck hillbilly tents full of belt buckle art. We were ready to go out and do us a good old-fashioned rural county fair. And I went over at one point to go get an elephant ear for my girlfriend and his girlfriend, and we left Simon by himself. And I looked over and he's talking to some guys, and he's talking to these three not very big kids, but like athletic-looking kids, probably all around 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", not big guys. And I get back over to him, and things seem to have calmed down, and these guys have turned and sort of started to walk off, and they see me walk up. And I think these guys took it as, here comes his friend to join the fray. What I didn't know is I just thought I was coming over to meet some people, and I had an elephant ear. I was pretty happy. So these guys kind of like, oh, who's this? What's going on here? Your girlfriend coming over? And I was really confused. I didn't understand what was going on until it was over. And so these three guys walk off, and I was like, what the hell was all that about? And Simon says, I knew them from a football camp. They're from a nearby rival town. They were talking trash, and they were talking shit, and I'm not really even sure what just happened there, but I feel like we were just completely disrespected. We let it go, and we walked off, and we went to the car, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we just went, no, we can't let this slide. So we tell our girlfriends, we give them the car keys, and we say, go ahead and leave, and I guess if anyone's wondering what is going on, we're going to go find those guys, and we'll go 3-on-2, and I think we'll probably stand a pretty good chance. So we walk off, and we go back into the thick of this fair, and we see the backs of these three guys, and we're just like, you know what, don't care where we are, don't care who's around, let's do it. And we shout out across this crowded space, hey motherfuckers, we weren't done with you yet. And we get prepared, and the three heads turn, and so do the 9 around them. Like, this is a group of over over a dozen guys that are hanging out together, and we didn't realize it. We thought it was just the 3, but now it's gone from 3 versus 2 to 12 versus 2. I won't lie, I was just about as scared as I have ever been in my life. Like, it's really unnerving to be a big dude and to know you can take care of yourself, and to be in a situation where you are so hopelessly outgunned that the guys that are about to beat your ass can freely talk about where they're going to hide you when you're unconscious so that they have time to get away, and there's like literally nothing you can do about it. Like, there's nothing, you can't like be like, oh, come on guys, now what if I actually took you guys all out? Like, you're not gonna throw a fit and be like, come on guys, that's not nice to say. So I'm sitting here and I'm watching these guys decide our fate, and my buddy Simon, who's 6 inches shorter than I am, is completely undeterred. Like, I can see his mind picking out targets. This guy fought well into his mid-late 20s and actually almost went to jail for it a couple times. Like, he was never ready to back down from a fight, and this was no exception. And so as these guys are sitting there trying to figure out what to do with us, I'm so scared that my right leg is shaking. Like, my leg is like vibrating, shaking, and I have to lean and put more pressure on it with my weight to stop it, to slow it down, because at this point I can't even testosterone myself into being like the alpha male. Like, this, at this point, reality has just set in that I'm about to get my ass handed to me. And even if we do the unthinkable and we win a fight against 6 of these guys, we're only halfway through. So I see Simon, and I like, this image is burned indelibly into the back of my skull. I look over and see him eyeballing the biggest guy in the group, whose name, and this is not changed for dramatic effect, is Ezekiel, Big Z, the biggest corn-fed coverall wearing motherfucker in the group. And Simon is just staring at this guy, so Zeke fires up and says, hey boy, what you staring at? And Simon looks at him and says, God, just a whole mess of stupid, just look at you. I mean, how could I miss you, fat boy? And he shakes the guy's stomach roll. And at that point, Simon gets shoved back, and Simon is about to launch into like a full-blown flying Dragon Ball Z attack. In the back of my head, all I can see is Simon jumps Big Z, I jump Big Z, they scream 2-on-1. Now it's ethically okay to beat the shit out of us as a group, because we went 2-on-1 on the guy that was about the size of a fucking barn. And right as Simon is balling up and about to fire off the first round of this epic massacre, my girlfriend, God bless her, my high school girlfriend, who was really concerned that we might get into a situation like this, shows up on the horizon with as many members of our high school football team as she could gather, and they all ran to us and like, hey, what's going on? Hey, Ryan, Simon, what's going on, guys? Who are these fucking assholes? It's amazing to me how markedly the shit talking dropped off when everybody was paired off with somebody roughly their size. And as we're sitting here ironically trying to figure out how to end this quote-unquote Mexican standoff, 3 Mexican guys next to us start beating the shit out of each other. So the cops rush the area, and that event kind of broke us up. But that really was like all the education I needed from the world at large to very quickly understand that I don't know that I will ever be good in a situation where I actively search out a fight. I've been in fights. I've been in a lot of fights. I mean, I came from rural America where there aren't as many guns and there aren't as many knives, and there's still a lot of disputes that are settled with fists and feet. And I'm actually kind of okay with that. Like, I would way rather get into a fist fight than have somebody open me up with a box cutter. But that said, I've won some, I've lost some, I've had a lot of them end in really strange draws, but I haven't had a lot of times where I felt really accomplished when it was over. And this was one particular situation where I was like, wow, talk about your all-time backfires. And I was mentally playing it out where I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna get the shit kicked out of us, and I'm gonna have like bleeding in my brain, but they're gonna put me in a dumpster and they're gonna cover me up with bags of trash, and I'll die there from a brain aneurysm and swelling, and my parents will be sad, and you know, I'll never get to see a naked boobie again, and I've got a funnel cake back in the truck, which I was really excited about. So yeah, I guess ultimately, if I could give any advice about fighting, I don't want this becoming an advice column because it's not. I'll leave that to Woody. But yeah, I really like that line that my dad gave me when I was a kid, and it's probably what I'll tell my son is you never start a fight, but by God, you finish one. All right, guys, that's it. Story time with Taffy. Episode number 14 is in the books. Head down to the comments section and do me a favor. This will be kind of fun. Leave me your comments, questions, and suggestions. Also, leave me the strangest or most annoying comment spam that you've ever seen. We've been bumping into a lot of this lately, not just YouTube channels, but people are taking to comment sections with all sorts of absolutely misplaced. It's becoming like the modern day bumper sticker. So tell me what the dumbest thing you've ever seen comment spammed might happen to be. And yeah, we'll see you around this time next week. Until next time, on behalf of the Mr. Waffles channel, this is Taffy, and I am out.